Okay, let's be real for a second. Take a look around your life, your room, even just the inside of your own head. Do you see it? That guitar you swore you'd learn, the coding project that's half finished, the bread-making kit you used like twice? If that sounds familiar, you probably know that little voice of shame that comes with it. The world has all these labels for us, right? Dilettante, unfocused.
And I bet this is the one you use on yourself. A jack of all trades is a master of none. We use it to beat ourselves up, don't we? It feels like we're imposters because we just can't seem to pick one thing and stick with it, while it feels like everyone else is becoming a world-class expert in their one single lane.
But what if I told you that entire time you've only been telling yourself half the story? What if that phrase, the one you've been using as a stick to beat yourself with, is actually incomplete?
There it is, the whole thing. A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. See how that just flips the whole script? Suddenly, all those scattered interests aren't a weakness anymore. They're actually a profound strength.
So let's dig into this. According to a lot of modern psychology, that feeling of being scattered, of jumping from one thing to the next, it's not a character flaw, not at all. It's actually a sign of a really adaptive mind. You're not failing to specialize. Your brain is instinctively building something rare, something designed for the world we actually live in today.
To really get why your brain is wired this way, we have to talk about how much the world has changed. For generations, we were sold this idea that the only way to succeed was to become a super specialist. But honestly, the rules of that old game just don't apply anymore.
You see, the old world was what researchers call a kind learning environment. Think of it like a game of golf. The rules are stable, they never change. If you practice your swing 10,000 times, you're going to get really, really good. But we don't live there anymore. We live in a wicked environment now, where the rules of the game can literally change overnight.
And this is the absolute crux of it. Your brain knows this, deep down. It understands that when a whole industry can be disrupted by a new piece of software, being the world's best at just one thing is actually a really fragile position to be in. That's why you drift. Your brain is trying to build a more robust map of this crazy, unpredictable world.
So what looks like a chaotic mess of hobbies from the outside is actually you developing a cognitive superpower. Seriously. And psychology has a name for it. It's called far transfer.
Now this is the key. Most specialists get really good at what's called near transfer. They solve problems they've seen before using tools they already know. But you're practicing far transfer. You're taking an idea from, say, music and applying it to a business problem. That is the very engine of innovation. Check out this example. It makes it so clear. Imagine a web developer who used to be a beekeeper. Totally unrelated, right? Wrong. That person understands organic, living systems. So when they look at a complex code base, they don't just see lines of logic. They see an ecosystem that needs to be cultivated. They can spot connections and patterns a traditionally trained coder would just never see.
And that's the big takeaway here. You might feel like a fraud because you're not the #1 expert in any single thing, but you're missing the point. Your unique value isn't in the depth of one skill. It's in your power to synthesize, to connect the dots between all of them.
So let's give this thing a new name. You can stop calling yourself unfocused or a dabbler. You have what we can call an M-shaped mind, and it's a really powerful way to understand how you operate.
For years, the ideal was this T-shaped person. A little bit of knowledge about a lot of things and one super deep specialty. But look at the M-shaped mind. You've got multiple pillars of depth, real skill in several areas, all linked together by this amazing bridge of curiosity. It's just a more resilient, more creative way to be in the modern world.
Okay, so having this new identity is great, but it doesn't solve that crushing feeling of burnout, of always being behind. And that's because there's a trap. You fall into it when you try to build all your pillars at once. If you're trying to master data science, write a novel, and launch a podcast all in the same month, you're going to collapse. It just doesn't work.
So how do you actually build this M shape without burning out completely? Well, the people who do this successfully, the real modern polymaths, they all use a very specific strategy. They learn to master their seasons.
The strategy is called serial mastery, and it's all about shifting how you see your life. It's not one single race to the finish line. It's a series of distinct seasons. And in each season, you pour your focus into building up one of those pillars of your M, giving it the attention it deserves.
This timeline lays it out perfectly. Maybe your 20s are your season of music and art. You live and breathe it. Then in your 30s, you pivot and go deep into programming. Now the key is, you didn't quit art, you completed that season. That pillar is built. It's strong, and it's there to support whatever you build next.
Here's a quick story about how this works in the real world. There's a 53-year-old guy who lets his programming job pay the bills. But here's what he does. He works a 30-hour week on purpose. He turns down the big promotions because he's fiercely protective of his energy. Why? So he can pour that energy into his other pillars, music and philosophy. And eventually all those things started merging together into his own amazing projects. That's the M-shape in action.
Now, there is one last piece to this puzzle, and honestly, it's the part that makes having an M-shaped mind your ultimate bulletproof advantage. And the idea comes straight out of evolutionary biology.
It's this concept of redundancy. In nature, having backups isn't wasteful. It's a critical survival strategy. For instance, elephants almost never get cancer. Why? Because they have tons of genetic redundancy, multiple copies of a key cancer-fighting gene. If one fails, another one just takes over. Your different skills, your so-called scattered interests, that's your redundancy. That's what makes you resilient.
Just look at this comparison. Let's say you're a specialist software engineer, and some new AI comes out that threatens your job. You're terrified, right? Your whole world is rocked. But what if you're a software engineer who also knows how to do electrical wiring, can fix an HVAC unit, and has experience as a teacher? You're unbreakable. One pillar might shake, but you've got others to stand on. You always have a pivot ready.
So please, it's time to reframe that whole graveyard of hobbies. You weren't just dabbling. You weren't wasting your time. You were engaging in strategic adaptability. You were building a safety net of skills that will help you survive and thrive in this wicked, unpredictable world.
And if you take away nothing else, I want you to hear this. Those half-finished projects weren't failures. They were semesters in your own personal university. You were never, ever meant to be just one thing. Your purpose is to be the bridge, the person who connects ideas and worlds that the specialists, stuck down in their silos, can't even see exist.
So, the question you should be asking yourself isn't what should I specialize in anymore. The new question is, what season am I in right now? Now that you understand your design, your unique cognitive architecture, how are you going to intentionally cultivate your M-shaped future, one powerful season at a time?